What's up, everyone? I'm Mac,
And I'm Kirsta.
and we are the Womacs.
And last week we came to you with part one of our Get to Know Us Better series. And we said this week we were going to tell you about a big change. But before we do that, we're going to backtrack a little bit because there's something important that we need to tell you about. And that is we had health challenges before we left Pittsburgh. So that's one of the changes. We left Pittsburgh, but before leaving, we had major health issues. I had my thyroid removed after these health issues, but this was the beginning. I was gaining weight, I was losing weight, I was shaking, I was having all kinds of issues with my thyroid. And those didn't get discovered and healed until after we left Pittsburgh.
Well, what about the attack on your
Oh, one day I woke up and I had a tiny red dot in my right eye. As the day went on, that dot grew and my eye began to bulge and hurt. And Mr. Womack was out seeing his cousin who he had not seen in a long time, and I waited as long as I possibly could because I didn't want to interrupt his time, but I needed help. So I called my doctor. She got me in right away, but she wouldn't see me. She said, "Oh no, honey, you've got to go to the emergency room." So what had happened was, it's called a thyroid storm. And when your thyroid attacks your body, it picks something to attack. And mine picked to attack my eyeball, which then led to, after that, I ended up with Graves' disease. But that's not where it all ends, but that's where I'm going to stop because Mr. Womack had health challenges while we were in Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, and mine came from stress. So in the last video, I talked about working at a steel mill. Now, as I was working at this steel mill, I was working swing shifts, which is every 7 days my shift changed. At this steel mill, our union voted out lunch periods and sick leave. So if you call off, you don't get paid at this steel mill. They figure if they're paying you so much money, you wouldn't call off. But I mean, everyone gets sick, right? So I would never call off. I never knew what day it was.
Oh, he did.
I never knew what time it was because when I say swing shift, I mean 7 to 3 for 5 days. Then you get 2 days off. 3 to 11 for 5 days, and you get a day and a half off because you're coming in for 11 to 7 for 5 days. I did that for 12 years. So one day, I was a supervisor, and I got into it with one of the guys who didn't want to listen to me because of my color. I was a supervisor, so I had to be professional, but what I was doing, I was internal, holding it in instead of, talking to someone. I was holding it in, and one day I thought I had a heart attack. At work, at the job, and the ambulance came, picked me up, went to the hospital, and found out it was an anxiety attack. But it was crazy, and I was young too. This was probably like 2009, 5.
I don't know.
But whatever year it was, I thought it was taking me out because of the stress. So I didn't know how to handle stress back then, and
Caught up with you.
caught up with me.
And that's part of what my mom kept telling us about doing too much. See, we were so in the mode of grinding
and hustling, and so we
it caught up with both of us
Yeah.
and our health.
So to go back to the first story, we had properties, we had apartment buildings that we owned. We were our own landlords. We didn't have a management company, so I would go to work and go pick up rent, and it was so crazy. And we had the UPS store. She had her company. So all that combined was a big deal, big stressor, and I thought it was taking me out, but it was just a wake up call.
And, go ahead.
Do what?
I just thought of something. And we started the Hello World business.
Yeah.
During
yeah.
that. Thank you, baby.
You got a little hair in there.
During that time, and that was way ahead of the curve. It was video emails, and it never caught on. It never could quite. The technology just wasn't there yet. But it was a video email service,
Yeah, so
and we
started
launched that
too, yeah.
with another. You know, it was like a MLM type thing, and we started that as well. So we were
burning a candle at both ends.
And our health let us know.
Yeah. Our health suffered from it. But you know, once we left Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, my hometown, once we left there, it got a lot easier.
Yeah, because we exited after a lot of stress, a lot of prayer,
A lot of drama.
We decided that we were going to leave all of this stuff behind and start fresh and new. And one of the main reasons was because my mom was getting older and her heart was getting weaker and weaker, and she couldn't really have another surgery. She just wasn't up for it. Her health wasn't up for it. So we said, okay, we're going to move to Cleveland. We'll be closer to her. She lived in Oberlin, Ohio. And we moved to Cleveland.
That way we weren't too far away from my kids either.
Right.
I can, get to Pittsburgh in 2 hours, and we can get to Oberlin in 45 minutes. So we were close to both, but I had to leave Pittsburgh.
And we were still kind of burning the candle at both ends because we were running back and forth between Oberlin and Pittsburgh. And we lived in an awesome, beautiful condo right on the lake, right behind the...
In Cleveland. We moved to Cleveland in 2010.
Yes.
Okay.
And we lived in a beautiful condo right behind the Brown Stadium. And that's when I think I started my most walking. That's when I really got into walking the most. I would go take our dog. We had a standard pool. I'd go down around the stadium, come back up, and come home. And I started feeling better, but my eyes were still being affected. I still really wasn't feeling good. And I went to see my mom, and she said, if I have to tell you one more time, there's something wrong with you, I'm going to knock your head off. So I made an appointment at the Cleveland Clinic.
Yes.
And I met with the doctor. And it was my thyroid. I had gone into Graves' disease. I've gone from hypo to hyper, but I was on medication for hypo, which made matters even worse. And she said, I really feel something's going on. You need to get your thyroid out. And I just said, okay. I didn't think about it. I didn't go home and discuss it with him because I just needed some relief. I was like, if I stood in Walmart or anywhere we were shopping, my legs would tremble and shake. I'd always feel like I was going to fall. My hands were shaking. It was really hard for me to even write with the pen. And so I had my thyroid out, and that surgery went well. The night I had it out, I woke up in a real bad sweat.
And we found after they took her whole thyroid out. Okay.
I woke up in a really, really bad sweat. The whole bed was soaked, and my sheets were soaked. And I had a male nurse, and he came over and he said, "Oh, honey, you are going to be okay. We believe we got it all out, and this is just part of what happens." And I'm like, okay, you got all what out? You're taking my thyroid out. What happened was, once they got my thyroid removed, they realized, ooh, did y'all hear that? That was lightning.
That was lightning.
And we don't edit our videos,
No.
so we're going to keep going.
Yes.
I had thyroid cancer, so I was relieved that I instantly said yes, because who knows what would have went on and past that, and I don't even want to think about it. So once that I had my thyroid removed, I felt much, much better, but I still remained to be sick, and that was due to I also had a 9-pound fibroid, which I had a full, complete hysterectomy, and I had that removed a year later, and then I was still really sick. And after moving we moved from one condo in the same building to another condo in the same building, and then we moved out of that building and moved to Lakewood. When we moved
Lakewood, Ohio.
Yeah, when we moved to Lakewood, I started feeling better. I've come to realize that the building that we were in used to make tile, and there's still chemicals in those walls.
The floor tile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they used a lot of asbestos, and a lot of ladies that lived in that building at that time were sick. We always seemed to keep some type of cold or sinus infection or something, and so when we looked back on it, it was that building that was making me sick. So a lot
Yeah.
of our time in Cleveland, I slept.
Yeah, and a lot of time in Cleveland, I partied. We were downtown Cleveland. Again, we were living right behind the Brown Stadium. I had a huge following for my training. I was a personal trainer. I still am, sort of, kind of halfway retired and not. But I had a big following in Cleveland with the Move with Mac training. So I would train out on the beach. There's a beach on Lake Erie in Cleveland.
Edgewater Park.
Edgewater Park. I would train there a lot. We had a rooftop patio overlooking Lake Erie and overlooking the Brown Stadium. So I would do a lot of. I would bring in a lot of Zumba instructors and have classes up there. We had the news come to the workout one time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Gloria. Gloria was our
Yeah,
Zumba.
Gloria's our Zumba instructor. But I was training 3 different places on Saturdays. I was working at the VA hospital, and I had at least 6 clients. So I was super busy, and she was super sick. Um, then when we moved to Lakewood, I was still super busy, but she started feeling better. And let's end it there.
Okay.
Want to end it there? Or
Yeah.
let's
that's
end it
enough.
there.
We're not gonna make these long and drawn out. So
Yeah.
tune in next week for part 3, and if you're new to us, I'll put the link to part 1. But we also have a playlist set up for this Get to Know Us series. So check out the playlist or
On
click the
YouTube,
link
yeah.
to part 1. And thanks for turning in. And this storm is kind of scaring me, y'all. It's a lot of thunder and lightning going on.
But always will move with Mac
Positive thinking.
equals positive results.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can know when our next Get to Know You video is available. Thank you.